There's a real tangible power to the wind-driven sea when it's coming straight at you, good and hard from the frozen north. Some of the waves sweeping past the harbour entrance were sending little echoes of their power all the way to the dinghy slip. The weather started to close in, and just as it was getting really bad, a party of 3 German sailors in a charter yacht decided to make a run for it. It was Friday and their boat had to be back in Inverness ready for Saturday changeover.
And they're leaving Lossiemouth Harbour and they're going out to that.
I've heard it said that the most dangerous thing on a boat is a calendar, because deadlines make you take risks with the weather. Of course, the perils faced by the renter of a well-found 40-foot charter yacht with a powerful and reliable engine are somewhat different from the ones faced by the owner of an outboard-driven, full-crouching headroom trailer sailor. The chance of the charter yacht engine conking out and the boat being dashed on the rocks are minimal, when stacked against the 100% certainty of a hefty penalty for bringing the charter boat back a tad late, missing flights and work days and all the rest. Once he was clear of the lee shore and headed up towards the sheltered side of the Moray, then I'm certain they had a pretty splendid fast reach through the flattish water all the way back to the charter office. Good on them for having a Scottish adventure. Jill and I spent a very happy day enjoying the visual treats that were all around us. The power of the sea and the wind coming at us from the Arctic Circle set about slowly, inexorably and with impossible patience eroding the shores and all the works of man back to the perfect granite sand that fills every bay and beach along this coast. As a sailor from the southern parts of the North Sea, where the chop is as short as a dinghy, I still find that these long-period northern latitude waves exert a powerful hold on my gaze as they ebb and flow across these stunning Moray landscapes. The clear, low Scottish light, combined with the sparkling, shifting forms, create images in the mind that remain long after the power of the storm has dissipated. It was pleasant enough to read, rest and eat, but the weatherman was holding no hope of warmth and sun in the foreseeable future, and down in Suffolk, most afternoons it was kicking at the door of 30 degrees centigrade. So, with barely a backward glance, Jill hopped on a train to Woodbridge and left me alone to indulge my sailing insanity in an ever-cooling Scottish landscape. So today I'm going to go across to the Dornoch Firth, which is pretty much due west of Lossiemouth. So the boat is moving along pretty nicely. The tide is going the wrong way a bit, but that's alright. I'm kind of crossing the tide, so I just need to change the angle a bit. I've got ages. I don't really want to go up the Firth until the wind starts blowing in my direction. So the tiller pilot's going, boat's going fine, and I'm just about to make myself a cup of tea. I've just left Lossiemouth about an hour ago. Katie was making the most of the freshening breeze which pushed her on through the grey world of Moray. An hour, maybe 2 of this splendid wave-chomping progress, and we'll be rounding Tarbot's Head in search of a placid anchorage surrounded by sand. I sat with my back to the lee rail, letting the boat and the tiller pilot take care of everything, while my mind drifted with the rhythm of the passage. And then, just the briefest of cetacean visitations, which ended with a satisfyingly flamboyant flourish. I confess that I cherry-pick locations when Jill is with me. I know that she prefers beaches, drying out in estuaries, long walks and generally poking around seashores to these long, uncomfortable coastal passages. I wanted to get up the Dornoch as far as Boner Bridge. I had also never seen an osprey, a terrible confession for an ardent twitcher, and Dornoch has 10 resident pairs, so I was full of hope. I'm just outside Inverbar. It's about 9:15, so I'm hoping the tide will come up before it gets dark so that I can get in here. I assume the light won't disappear completely. It's supposed to be a moon tonight. I don't want to be buggering about in the dark, really. So, as soon as the tide comes in here, I've been in here for one night, so I know that I can go aground nicely in there and have a quiet night aground. But I'm just waiting for the tide to come in enough for me to get in there. Supper tonight is so I drove up yesterday. It's raining again. Scotland. See, I've got the candles going. Just don't rain. Just stop raining for a bit, will you? Scotland. The sky's great though. It started to get dark before I could get myself safely tucked away behind Tain Bar, so rather than risking it, I motored over to the partial shelter of Port Mahomack for the night. The jetty and the main buildings were designed by Telford. It was never a fishing port, more a loading dock through which the good quality East Coast wheat, barley and oats could be exported to continental markets. The Sutherland Highlanders, who'd been cleared off the mountains and glens by their ungrateful clan chief, were frequently undernourished. They hated the sight of good food grown on what were once their best pastures being dispatched to swell the bellies of greedy Dutchmen. To us today, Port Mahomack is just another redundant wharf. To victims of the clearances, it was a symbol of their complete degradation and humiliation at the hands of their clan chiefs. But starving them to the point where they left Scotland was all part of the disgusting plan. I slept well in Port Mahomack. I always sleep well on the boat, and the weatherman said that it wasn't going to rain that much that day. This is Scottish sailing. This is the way people sail in Scotland, like this. July, 25 degrees down in Essex, 12 here. I don't really know, But look at the skies. Look at this as a diamond place to sail. Look at this. What a treat. The wind was all over the place, funneling and curling capriciously off the mountains.
Wow, that's a hell of a lift.
I often use the trysail when it's blowing hard. It's made of a cut-down squib main which once belonged to my father-in-law. The boat stays balanced, the drive stays down low, and I can douse it in a trice. I love my gunter rig with its stubby mast and sensible gaff, but there are days, especially in Scotland, when the drive from Katie's baggily massive red mainsail is overkill and you want that sail pressure kept down low. Her handiness in light winds under main alone is a wonderful thing, for a single-hander on a quiet day up a small river, that is, but a handful when Scotland is chucking wind at you from every direction. And there's all this lovely Scottish scenery to savour. The North Sea is seeking to slowly choke the Dornoch with soft sand which it piles up in elegant shapes which all but block the Firth entrance at low tide. Then we were through and over the bar, and the flooding tide added a knot or three to our forward speed. But as the sun started to drop, the clouds were threatening a long evening of lousy weather, so I started on the delightful task of thinking about choosing a suitable place to drop the hook for the night. The Dornoch is well blessed with places where an old bloke in a small boat can pass a quiet night with no other sailors to disturb his fitting slumber. I chose a spot with all-round protection, soft mud and 15 feet of water, little wind, no waves, some birds, no midges. Later on, much later, the moon came out, but only for a short while before being once again subsumed by cloud.
I'm up the Dornoch Firth, and it's morning, drying waterproofs.
I'm always happy to pick up the paddle and offer a few strokes in homage to the god of wind. He likes me to show willing and watch me attempt to meet him halfway. He soon takes pity on me and never fails to deliver a zephyr or two, as he always does for supplicants with enough patience to await his pleasure.
A little bit of wind has just come. It's coming from the east. Still, I'll stay up here, which I might do. Seems mad not to spend a couple of days up here. If the wind's blowing hard, I can sail Don't want to go and hide in Lossiemouth Harbour.
The Dornoch Firth was famous in Scotland for the utter perfection of its oysters, which once covered these banks. It was said a man could scoop a meal for 4 from here with a single sweep of a wooden bucket. But that was 100 years ago. All gone from Dornoch now. Too many men with big, greedy, industrial-sized buckets. This lush land of the Dornoch has changed hands between the Mackays and the Sutherlands several times, occasionally by marriage, but more often by force of arms as gangs of Mackays came sweeping down from their mountain fastnesses to desecrate, steal, burn and murder anything associated with the hated members of the Sutherland clan. Part of an ongoing 500-year-old feud that started when a despicably perfidious Sutherland chief offered hospitality to his Mackay counterpart and his glorious son. They were greeted at the door as honoured guests, only to be mercilessly murdered, both man and boy, as they slumbered in Sutherland beds. Incidentally, Dornoch means pebbles the size of fists, which can be found all around here. Despite being an ardent twitcher, I'd never seen an osprey, and at least one of the Dornoch 20 should show its face at some point. I spent a lot of time watching them through the binocs, willing them to come close enough to film. I even saw a swooping dive for a snatch and successful catch. I watched as the bird lifted its wildly twitching, 2-pound dripping, slippery burden triumphantly up into the air and turned the fish head to wind to give better airflow across its quivering silvery form as the huge flapping wings powered the trout on its final journey to the treetop eyrie where chicks waited hungrily for supper to arrive. But all way too far from the gently rocking deck of Katie to allow me to film. Here on the bottom left of the screen, just a few wheeling pixels as the osprey pair celebrated the catch I'd just witnessed. Finally, a glimpse of Bonar Bridge. A journey by dinghy with the tide up the Kyle of Sutherland would have been sublime, and a great adventure as the tide reaches 10 miles and more up the Kyle, getting halfway across Scotland. Maybe next time. The next day, it rained almost without end.
Down to my, I've got 4 more candles left before I run out of candles. I'm a bit short of fuel. So there we have it. Raining again.
Sitting below with no more than full crouching headroom is a challenge to anyone's reserves of patience and moral fibre. Highlight of the day comes with a change of the tide and a different view while standing under the spray hood, eating toast with marmalade, waiting for the rain to quit.
It's been raining for about 4 hours now, I think. It's not windy, fortunately. The rain has killed the wind. Tide will turn fairly soon. Then I'll get the other view facing in the other direction. But it's a pretty dismal, grey sort of place at the moment. Bastard.
The next day it dawned dank and grey, but with a favourable wind. Under the bridge, built in 1991, It will be an easy 25 miles back across the Moray to Lossy. I was coming to really appreciate these fast, tide-assisted flat water passages. I set off in Blech, and now it's come pretty nice. The wind's a bit strong, but I'll live with that. I'm just about to go through the bar for Dornoch. I don't think there's much of a bar. I think I must stick close to this shore. I've been in and out of here 3 times now, so I've been plugging the tide here. 3.6 knots, but the tide is slopping in. Raining. I know it's sunny over there, but it's raining over here. So I'll put the boat hove to when it rains so that I don't get wet. These are just little showers. They last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So sometimes it's enough time to brew a cup of tea, sometimes it's not. I think this is nearly finished. But she goes hove to beautifully. Got the brown sail on. And half a red Genoa pulled back and rather hard over. This has turned into a run now. It was really rough. I was a bit worried about the rig. However, it's supposed to stay up. The bottom of this lock entrance is up and down all over the shop. I can't make much sense of it, but you get these big waves build up sometimes and then they just disappear. It's amazing. We're doing 3 knots. I'd hope to be doing better than that once we get round the lighthouse. I'm going to come over to the shore to Tarbert to see if I can avoid the flood, but I don't really know how much more flood there is to go. Once I get around the corner, the tide will be underneath me because it'll be ebbing then. Just depends when and where it turns. Let's do some pretty crazy waves though. Look at these just kicking up here for no good reason. Guys.
came across the headland and then thought I would go straight up the middle, which was a mistake really. It was stupid. It was rough and the tide was still slopping in, so I'm reaching across in towards Port Mahomac and then I'll follow the shore up. That's my plan. So I've got a fine breeze has come up now. Sea is really confused. Pleased the breeze has come because I'm running short of petrol. The sea's just, there's some big waves coming in off the North Sea, and then there's this little chop that's been thrown up by the westerly, which has suddenly appeared. So, and there's obviously the remains of last night's blow. It was blowing hard this morning. Boats all over the shop, but moving along quite nicely. Telltales are made out of J cloth and gaffer tape. There you go.
It was a deeply satisfying 4 days, fuel and candle shortages aside, of course. I was looking forward to getting back to Lossie, where I could plug the heater in and air blast myself, my clothes and the inside of the boat to a luxurious, crispy dryness I had not felt for days.